This is an add-on to step 2. So I might as well call it step 2.1. So basically, there's another way which, as I alluded to earlier, where you can import music into Rekordbox and then obviously consequently export it to a USB drive. So I'm just going to put my drive back in. And I'm going to keep my SVA1 playlist there. You can see my stickers popped up here, SVA DJs. If I click back up onto collection, you can see that my tracks I've imported earlier there. Now, do you remember I said I'd wanted to keep this bar at the top of the screen in grey here exposed? Is because you can also click on File, Import, and you can import either a track or a series of tracks. You can import a folder or import a playlist. We'll come to how you import playlists, I think, later on. It's quite an advanced thing, but it's actually quite simple. If you're an iTunes user, it might be something which is going to be quite good for your workflow. If you're not, there's other ways of using this. But we're just going to import a track. Now, do you remember I said about if you're keeping your music on a particular computer, never change where that location is of the music? Because Rekordbox will basically, if you rename the folder, the home folder of that music, Rekordbox will decide that it can't find it because that home folder name's been changed. Now, I'm going to import here a track, and you can see what pops up is like a finder. And here on my desktop, I've got bits and bobs which or actually to be quite frank, they're sort of down in this music database hard drive I've got connected to this computer, but I've made a couple of folders here. So I've got some recordings of my show, recordings of my podcast, and various other bits and bobs, but I've got new WAVs here, so I'm going to click on that, and if I go into new WAVs, I'll pull up, let's see if I can grab a few other tracks. So I'm going to just highlight a few tracks there. This is in a folder which is not sitting in iTunes. It's a separate folder sitting on my hard drive in my Mac at the moment, desktop Mac. I'm going to select these tracks and just click open, and you can see it imports them straight into Rekordbox. But remember, it will always believe that those tracks are in that folder somewhere else on my drive. So this is another way of bringing music into your collection. So pretty much the same if you're on Windows system. You might have a folder of, let's say you've got hip hop tunes or something in a folder in your PC. You can literally go to the top right hand of the screen and go to import, and import either the whole folder or import tracks. And as you know, you can, as you've seen, you can actually import several tracks in one go. Right, so those tracks I've just imported are now in my collection. I can highlight those, and as I said earlier, drag them straight in to SVA1, or I can right click and export them to the USB stick outside of a playlist, and it's literally just going to be sitting on a USB stick, or I can add them to SV1 playlist. One thing I'm just going to add here, as you can see at the top, these are called playlist palettes. Now you can use that as a quick way of jumping from playlists you have started to build in your library and quickly view them. So if I just, let's say, I'm going to drag SVA1 into playlist palette 1, the slot there. And now when I click, if I make another playlist, let's do that. That'll probably be a better thing to do. Is put another playlist with just a couple of tracks in. I can just drag that up to there and title it SVA2. And now I've got 2 playlists here on the left, can you see? And I've got my shortcuts to those playlists here. Now the benefit of that is, let's say you've got a range of playlists built in your collection. You're going to be doing a set and you're trying to put something together a bit different. Maybe you're playing at a different venue, different club you haven't played before, the crowd's different, you already anticipate something happening there which you're going to have to step up your game, or maybe even go in a different tangent or something like that, well, you might then have your main 2 playlists there, but you could make 2 or 3 more playlists, and literally, if you wanted to, drag anything from your collection into these playlists, and they will then come up here. Obviously, you name them and they would come up here. And it's just a quick way of jumping from playlist to playlist as you're doing your work, working through these tracks and building your set. Okay, so now I've got 2 playlists in. Now, I could literally just, as I said, export these tracks to these playlists and then just eject. But there is another way of utilizing all the features of Rekordbox. That is using Sync Manager. And so down here on the left hand side corner, as you see my cursor there, if I click on that, what you're presented with is a sync system, a synchronizing system. Here on the left is all my iTunes library. Here in the center is the Rekordbox collection, which you've just seen, and then here on the right is the device library. Now, ignore that Music DB. That's my main hard drive I got connected to the laptop, or desktop in this case. But if you left click here, or right click on or just click on it as a PC, you can then select the USB stick, SVA DJs, and then you can then select synchronize playlist with device. And then here you can either select all the playlists or individual playlists. I'm going to select all for now. And you can even synchronize with iTunes if you're using iTunes. I'm not going to do that now because we'll be here all day. There's a ton of tracks in there, by thousands. Right. So once you select this, you can then press this right arrow here, and it's going to then synchronize your playlists from the main collection into the USB stick. And at the very bottom here, you can see progress bar moving across, and it's exporting those tunes. Now, technically, I'm going to have these playlists on here twice because I'm doing this way, but I just wanted to show you that there are several ways and means of getting music onto your USB stick. We'll cover the synchronization manager or sync manager in more detail later on. But in the meantime, that sort of gets you up and running to get music on your USB stick for us then to go into the studio or in the club and start playing music.